Hello and welcome to Take Time Thursday. My name is Stacy Brioka. I am known as the technology therapist and squirrel wrangler. And today's topic is how we take time for ourselves, and specifically around hobbies. So, what hobby do you um, love to do? Maybe even if you haven't done it in a long time, something that you would like to learn, something you already know how to do. What kind of things do you want to do that you haven't done in a while? Um, I'd love to hear from anybody who's here, and I'm just sending out some links here. We've got Matt and Catherine, Toby and Steven. Good to have you guys here. So, as the technology therapist and squirrel wrangler, I actually do not just call myself a therapist. I am a geek girl for 40 plus years. Plus, I have been a uh, clinical social worker and therapist for 25 and a public health educator for 15. And one of the things I know from that combined experience is that stress, in many different ways, um, not only impacts our life, but can be mitigated by taking time for ourselves. You know, the whole adage of putting your mask on before you put somebody else's on if you're in a, potentially in a plane crash is important in that way is you have to take care of yourself first before you can fully take care of anyone else. So, people say, well, but I've got to be a mother, but I've got to be a, worker, but I've got to be a wife, but I've got to be a husband, but I've got to be a whatever. I've got to be a blank and fill in the blank of the something, some role or responsibility you have. When frankly, what we've got to be is caretakers of ourselves. Um, eh, because if you don't take care of yourself first, you are absolutely going to run out of steam and not be able to not only not be able to take care of someone else, but you have a much higher risk of becoming sick with any number of things. And as we've all lived through the last couple of years, realizing that if your immunity is low, you have even more of a chance of getting, um, transmissible viruses and other things. And so if you don't take care of yourself, you have a big, larger chance of really burning out quickly. Um, and as we've seen from the what they call the Great Resignation, is people leaving their jobs because they're realizing that their other parts of their life may be suffering from that job or that obligation. And so we're all rethinking how we take our time. you know each of us has 168 hours in a week. You guys don't get any more than I do. I don't get any more than anybody else. 168 is all you got. And it's how you allocate those to your responsibilities, to your recreation, to yourself, to your sleeping. I have a coaching program called Find Your Formula Coaching, and one of the biggest pieces of the formula is actually sleep, and another one is self-care, because there are four silent S's that are underneath of all of our health problems. And if you want to learn about those, definitely jump in and listen to my episode from last Friday where I overviewed what the formula is and the different pieces. But sleep and self-care are two of the most important ones. So if you don't allocate enough time to sleep, if you don't have sleep in the right environment, if you don't sleep on schedule, blah, 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 if you don't take the time to sleep and be careful with your sleep, you can get out of balance in your life. So, and similarly, if you don't take time out of your life to enjoy hobbies, is gardening your thing? Is cooking your thing, or baking, or taking care of animals, or going for hikes, being out in nature, watching sports, or even more, being a participant in sports activities? Are you an arts and crafts person? I am actually sitting here looking at a new set of crochet needles as I speak to this, or crochet hooks rather. My grandma taught me how to crochet when I was a little girl, and I put it aside once in a while, and then I bring it back out. And number one, it reminds me of her every time I have yarn in my hand. Um, and number two, it gives me something to do with my hands, and I can listen and take in information better if I'm doing something with my hands, whether it's drawing, doodling, watercoloring, crocheting, even writing to an extent. College, I think I listened best when I was writing notes, not because I was writing down what they said, but because I was doing something with my hands as they said it. I probably could have done a lot better had I doodled, because then I would have had a product after that. But um, you know, I remember also going to trainings and seeing people knit or crochet or color or various things, and it was stigmatized. Because people would think, what are they doing? They're not paying attention. They're not whatever. And I guarantee you, the people who were doing that probably got even better information out of the sessions we were in than people who, possibly than the other people who didn't do something that they needed to do in order to increase their audio learning ability. Now, some people have to straight up focus on the person. I get that. Everybody learns differently. And so I'm not degrading any of that. I'm just saying I was one of those that, hey, I do better if I'm doodling or drawing with that. So I'm the one that comes into the room and sets up a big thing of markers in front of my thing, and has a notebook for notes and another notebook right next to it for doodling in the midst of whatever training that I'm in. And then, of course, I'm more than happy to share my markers and things like that too, because I want others to be able to enjoy that way. Um, and it helped me focus on the audio learning that I was doing. Right now, any one of you, and thank you for the 12 people who are here, any one of you might be working on a hobby or doing something while you're listening. If you're listening to this on a replay of a podcast, of the Technology Therapist podcast, you might be doing the same thing. You might be walking while you're listening to podcasts. You might be doing gardening. You might be working on model cars, whatever thing you do. And I'd love to learn what other people have as hobbies. And so, what is it you do while you're listening to a podcast, or what is it hobbies that you have that you might still continue, or that you've done in the past, and you might miss them? Maybe you haven't thought about them in a while. Maybe it's something you want to resurrect, or you're like, no, I did enough of that one. Like cross stitch is something I did when I was younger. I just don't feel like bringing it back. It's not, crochet. I did when I was even younger, and I bring it back every once in a while. And it's something I think that has meaning for me. It has, I like the fact that I can do it and then rip it out and then start again. If I want to, or I can just leave whatever quote unquote error in it and keep going. Um, Another hobby of mine is Lampwork glass blowing. Those of you who know me may or may not know that about me. And I have a Lampwork glass studio. Right now, it's a bit cluttered, and I haven't been out there in quite some time. And people have asked me, well, so are you getting rid of your glass studio? And I'm like, oh, hell no. Because I absolutely love the thing. And I know that the itch is going to hit me again and I'm going to be out there. And I might go whole hog and full force when I do. I don't know. Um, but I know that my intention is still there. Um, I used to do more paper arts and crafts, and that just doesn't seem like anything for me anymore. Um, but everybody has, different hobbies, and I would love, um, I guess what I'd like to do is ask somebody who's here in the room of the 14 people is let me know, jump in the hot seat and let's talk about what hobbies you like or what hobbies you might want to try that you haven't tried before. How do you take time for yourself? Um, or how would you like to take time for yourself in the future? Um, so as I'm waiting for somebody to take me up on that offer, um, I'll keep rambling, but I'd love to have somebody jump in the hot seat and talk about hobbies. Um, but my philosophy as not only a therapist and public health educator, but is, you know, we have to take care of ourselves to avoid burnout. And one of the ways we do that is hobbies. But the other thing is just, I call it, when is your next appointment for yourself or with yourself? And if somebody's a client of mine and I ask them, when is your next appointment with yourself? The first time I'm going to let them answer however they're going to answer because they haven't had this lesson yet from me. And they may be able to answer the question and they may not. But the second time, if they can't answer it at the drop of a hat, we're going to have a discussion about building self-care time into their life. And so the discussion and the lesson goes kind of like this. We all need to take optimally, this isn't an ideal world scenario. And no, we're not, we're never in an ideal world, but we can get close. Is you need to take 5 minutes every hour, even just to stretch, stand up, meditate, breathe, walk around the office. And I'm not just saying, oh, take a break because you need to go get more water or you need to go to the restroom. Because that's biological function. It's not just giving your body back something. Those are like things you have to do. Yes, breathing we have to do in general, but mindful breathing is different. 5 minutes every hour, 15 minutes at least once a day, preferably twice a day, 1 hour to 2 hours, preferably once a week, if not twice a week, 1 day, preferably 2 days or more, once a month, 1 week or more, once a year. So the formula for self-care is fairly easy like that. 5 minute, 15 minute, you can do 30-minute ones even, 1 to 2 hour sessions, 1 day and 1 week. And the lesson continues in that if you take a piece of paper and write down at the top of it a column that is 5 minutes, the next column is 15 minutes, the next column is 1 to 2 hours, the next column 1 day, 1 to 2 days, the next column 1 week. And start writing out activities in your life that you enjoy doing that are for just straight up your self-care and you taking time for yourself that you can do in those time frames. So in a 5-minute time frame, you could do 5 minutes of meditative breathing. You could do that in a 15-minute spot or a 30-minute spot even. So you can list the same activity in more than one column. You can do reading. if you like reading recreational books, as opposed to necessarily reading for learning for your job or your business or that kind of thing, but reading recreationally, or even watching YouTube videos or TikTok videos or whatever you do, you can put those in the 5, 15, 30-minute sessions. Taking a nap is an okay form of self-care. Now, and that's if it's over and above it's truly self-care when it's not just taking a nap because you are fully exhausted because you haven't taken care of your sleep. So that's the caveat I have on that one. Self-care is not just for going for a spa day anymore. I know a lot of people, the first thing they think of is, oh, I'm going to go shopping or I'm going to go spa day. Those aren't always self-care. Especially when it's, I'm going to go shopping with my sister because she needs a new blouse. The reason that is not self-care is because it's because she needs a new blouse, or because I need a new pair of shoes. You're going for the new pair of shoes or the new blouse. You're not going out and doing something because of the self-care. So you have to be careful that, I'm a big proponent of layering activities, but I also want to be very clear when something is self-care and when it really is not. It's because you got to get it done. Anytime it's because you've got to get it done, it's not necessarily self-care. Now, I think maybe some of the time I might say that's okay is maybe when you're talking about, I really, really love, like, a good friend of mine. She owns a gluten-free bakery here in Kansas City. She's actually here on Wisdom too, if you look up Morgana's KC. But she loves baking and she loves cooking for other people. And for her, that is her self-care and her hobby to do that. So, and it's really a fine line. That one's a fine line because she's doing it for someone else. She's doing it for her business, and she's doing it because she loves doing it. And the only reason you've got to be careful in that regard is because it's when the hobby or the self-care activity becomes something you dread doing at any given time, even if you dread it one day and the next day you're back to loving it. You've got to be careful about that. Especially when it's something you combine what you love with what you do for work. If you listen to my show from yesterday, I believe, when I was talking to Mary Catherine on What If Not Now Wednesday, we talked about your magic trick and bringing together the things you love and to be able to do the things you love for a living. And, the inherent risk in that is you don't want to destroy the very thing you love by making it work. And I think the way you do that is making sure that you are constantly refreshing yourself, that you're constantly taking care of yourself, that you're constantly changing up your game in all of the above, potentially changing who you are and what you do all the time, so that it stays fresh, so that it doesn't become drudgery and work. Because when it becomes that, then it's no longer self-care. I hope that's making sense for people. I'd love to know if this resonates with you. I have another 15 minutes or so maybe to take somebody up on stage to talk about what your favorite hobby is. What do you do to take care of yourself? I will reintroduce myself as my name is Stacy Breuka. I am known as the technology therapist and squirrel wrangler. And today is Take Time Thursday, and our focus is, what is your favorite hobby? So I've got 23 people in the room, and I really appreciate all of you. Anthony, Martin, Selena, Linadria, Selena, Michael, Jill, Sharon, Shannon, Ashton, D, Erica, Davidson, Dale, Darwin, I hope I don't mess your name up. Juvie, Juvie, Katie, Amanda, Keith, Ram, Matt, Catherine, Toby, and Steven. I really appreciate all of you being here to listen to my talk today. I set myself a goal 2 weeks ago to go live on one or whatever of my social media channels, and then I happened to find Wisdom. In fact, it was about 2 weeks ago exactly that I found Wisdom and started listening myself, and then on the Sunday started doing a talk. I decided I wanted to do one every day, Monday through Friday, and I had already decided on the themes that I wanted to do. I just didn't know that it was going to be on Wisdom. I am not restricting myself just to Wisdom, though. I'm saying if I end up choosing to go on LinkedIn one day, then that's still okay. I think giving ourselves leeway on what we do is important, as well as the taking time for ourselves. So I have loved the people that I've met so far here in Wisdom. Welcome, Mrs. Red Rose, Chris Bivens. I've seen you a couple times, and Anthony. We're talking about Take Time Thursday, about taking time for yourself, and we're also more specifically on hobbies. I talked about a couple of different hobbies of mine. Lampwork glass blowing, where I made marbles and beads, crochet, and watercolor and Zentangle. Those are kind of some of my favorite hobbies. I also enjoy reading and listening to music. I definitely enjoy going out to listen to live music. One of my family members is a musician, and blessed to go and hear they and variety of bands that they're in play. And even during COVID, they've been online and on Facebook for various times, and so it's been nice to be able to listen to them play and not have to worry about getting out in the weather or the whole COVID clothing routine of whether you're going to wear shorts or whether you're going to get dressed up. We'll just leave that there. But I'd love to have anybody who's in the audience come up and tell about your favorite hobby, whether it's something that you're pursuing right now and doing, or whether it's something that you miss doing and you'd like to do again, or something that you'd like to learn because you've never done it before. I think, especially in the United States, we push ourselves to go, 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 do 40 plus hours a week. And we don't always incorporate the things, the individual activities that we love into our day, into the hours of the day, into our days, into the weeks, and certainly, into the year, as much as we should. And our health suffers for it, to be quite honest. We're not going to feel as good, uh, if we don't do things that feed ourselves in that way. So I'd love if anybody is available and wants to. I've got about 15 more minutes. Baiju, Adam, Amy, welcome. This is probably one of those times that I would love that if Wisdom had a reaction, it even had reaction buttons where people could do a thumbs up or a hit the heart or something. I do have a guest coming up on the stage. Welcome, Miss Amanda. So I poked and poked enough, huh? So I could get somebody to come up here, huh?
I've been where you are, and I'm trying to get my littlest one out the door to go pick up the bigger ones. But I thought, you know what? If I were sitting there and I wanted somebody to
Oh,
chat, to add, I would I would really appreciate it regardless of what they're doing. So here we are.
So you're
So
juggling stuff. So besides
always.
juggling things as mom, and let me look at your profile again because I just
Sure.
looked at it. Oh, and Ed D. Um, so uh, you work actually in education as well,
I
or?
I did. I would consider myself a recovering professor.
Oh, I feel you so much. It's not funny. I took a break from my last adjunct position starting in March. So
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I gotcha.
I taught 2019, and when I left, I was so energized. I thought, anything I want. Are you kidding? I can do anything I want. So that's what I did. I started doing whatever I wanted to, and it's
Nice.
yeah. I mean, it's a lot of work still, but it's the work I want to do, and I enjoyed teaching. I enjoyed the students. I loved advising. I don't
Mm-hmm.
like bureaucracy, and higher ed is not for
Oh,
teens. It's not for teens. It's for individuals, and
I
it's isolating, and all the things that I don't like.
yeah. Even I had my two adjunct positions. One was at a local university, so it was in person classes, and the other one was an online. Was they were online before online was cool,
Yeah,
and I actually stayed with them longest, and I'm not against going back to them at a given point, although the bureaucracy part um, in any university is challenging.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, I think with any organization, when
mhm.
there's a change in leadership, the tsunami is tough. Um, but it's
It's a good way to
particularly
put
tough
it.
in higher ed
That's a
because
good way to put it.
it's very, very risky. It's probably more risky than Vegas in a lot of ways because you don't have any way to
Yeah,
back yourself up. You're none, and you're
yeah.
at the mercy of other people's judgments about the value of your work and your merit, and
Hmm.
it sucks.
And and
So,
and then and then one of my other positions was in a university
hmm.
hospital
Oh, yep.
research program.
Oh, been there.
And yeah,
Yeah.
if you want to talk about layers of toxicity.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it looks so beautiful from the outside.
Oh yeah,
And
the ivory towers are gorgeous,
yes. Yeah.
but not from the inside.
Yeah, they're
No.
totally slimy.
Yeah.
100% agree. So, when I left, one of the other things that rubs against higher ed is being a mom. And not only did I have one during that precious time when you're supposed to be establishing a research agenda and all that, but I had five
I
and a
just can't even
husband.
imagine that
Yeah,
workload.
there's no way. There's
I
no
mean,
way, but it's also kind of sad because you don't want your occupation to dictate your family desires. That's
right.
anti that too. So anyway, when I left, I thought I'm just going to do the things that I love, and one of which was a hobby that started 20 years ago. I taught group exercise, so dance-based fitness classes, and
Oh
I
wow.
had yoga and just the fun stuff. I did that to people back then, and really loved it. Energy, it's good for me, all the things. So
Yeah.
started doing that, and then of course the pandemic came along.
Right.
And then,
Right.
one of my other desires was to travel. And I had zero experience in the travel industry, but I found a lady who had a successful agency, and she said, "You know what? That's great. You don't have any bad habits. I'll teach you." I was like, "Yes."
Oh, how
So,
cool.
uh-huh. So I became a travel agent in April of 2019, which was a fantastic idea until March of 2020. And
Right.
the bottom fell out. But you know what? It's been great because it's given me the time to learn everything from the
Uh-huh.
ground up, and not the way that it's always been done, because nobody is doing it the way that it's always been done. It's almost as if there was a clean slate and a even platform for everybody entering the field based on nobody can do it the same way based on COVID. So,
Isn't, and I think that's actually true probably about lots of many different, not only professions, but even I mean, it really has impacted all of our life in those ways. Um, I attended this morning an information session on a group. Um, it's not really group therapy; it's group human support and connection platform this morning, and really cool philosophies. And people are doing things different than they were doing them. It's cool seeing the innovation that's coming out, I think.
well, I would agree with that completely, and I do think that that's
I,
one of the best things that's happened if we go back to education in a long time, especially in K-12. For
oh,
just
amen.
a brief moment, all of our teachers could do whatever it took to get the lessons across in whatever ways necessary, with whatever supports they had. They were creative. They weren't held to the test. I'm sure it was stressful, but it was so beautiful.
Oh, I not only agree, I think I have a little bit of resentment and anger to the K-12 systems that they had the opportunity to get ready for this technologically. The tech was there.
True.
The tech's been there for years. I mean, the proof is in the fact that, the not just the university I worked for that was university all online, but the multiple universities that were already all online programs. The technology for a K-12 to have something in place foundationally was there, and they just didn't want to do it because they didn't want to change.
Right. Well, and
And that
yeah.
that still angers me. Especially when they're saying, "Oh, let's get back to normal, let's get back to normal." Well, guess
Sure.
you just want to get back to where you didn't have to change.
Yeah. Well, and I do think a lot of the teachers embraced much of it, but it was the back and forth,
Oh yeah.
and the fact that it was, you take something that's very, very structured and make it completely ambiguous, and that's hard on anybody, and it's hard on kids.
Oh,
But the leadership that made the decisions, of course, were not necessarily the folks who were in the classroom either.
right,
So,
right. And I know that it was hard. It's been hard for parents to kind of be teachers and parents and work from home and have the kids, whatever. I mean, that I know that's been a huge stressor.
yeah,
We've had a lot of stressors on top of just the stress of the pandemic itself.
yeah.
Um,
I think
but
when
I
we
think,
talk about this to our grandkids and great grandkids, it's going to, like, this is equivalent to the life disruption that maybe the Great Depression was. I mean, we don't know exactly how we're going to describe it later, or even how we survived.
right,
It'll come out, the proof will be in the pudding for sure.
definitely. Well, tell me so your one of your hobbies is dance, and that definitely is. I love that it's you've combined it into a love of something. You've combined it before into a profession type love of something you're doing. And then
Yeah.
it's also a great health behavior. And you're teaching your kids great things with that and with being an educator. Um,
Yeah. I think they learned how to count from 8 to 1 before they could count from 1 to 10. And what I'm noticing is that just their exposure has probably helped them with rhythmic pieces and math for sure. I know my oldest is a math whiz, and just some different things like that. But yeah, love that. Did I hear
well,
you say you were in Kansas?
I'm in Kansas City, so yeah,
Oh, great.
I'm only 15 minutes from Kansas proper.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
where
Well,
are you at in
I'm
the
in
world?
Tennessee.
Okay.
I'm in Tennessee, just north of Nashville, and grew up in East Tennessee in the mountains and then moved toward the middle. Our state's kind of unique in that we've got three different distinct geographical regions. You've got the mountains, the plateau, and then whatever happens west, we don't know. Nobody knows what happens past Nashville. But that's what the three stars are for on our
Right.
flag.
A
But
good friend of mine just moved from California to Nashville, and she came through Kansas City on her way. And I have some other friends in Nashville, so and I've been there before. It's been quite a while, but I'm kind of looking forward to post-COVID travel when I finally feel comfortable traveling, of going to
yeah,
see them, and because it's beautiful. You've got a beautiful state,
thank you.
and good people.
For the most part, I think Nashville is like many cities. It's nobody recognizes it anymore. The little Ryman Auditorium is now in the shadows of these giant skyscrapers and things, and there's a lot of influx of various businesses and stuff, which is all good.
Hmm.
It's all good
Hmm.
for this stuff, but we got a small little hobby farm, if I guess that's what you could call it, just north of town. And one of our hobbies, or my hobbies, that kind of translates to everybody, is a large garden. And I'm talking about, I think we had almost an acre of garden. Now, you don't need that much garden. I know you can grow a lot in 10 by 10,
Oh,
but I like to grow stuff, just
yeah.
whatever. Um, so
Well,
we
and there's always people
garden.
who could, even if it's neighbors and friends and family,
Absolutely, and we did
or
that too. I didn't realize it, but we invited people to come pick because I'd rather anybody pick it and eat it than it would go bad. But
right.
somebody was sharing with me that that was a biblical thing and absolutely spiritual in the whole thing, but I would not be able to point that out in the Bible at all. But I thought, well, that makes it even nicer. That's great.
Well, and I think just sharing our humanity with each other is a spiritual event in any religion. Not. I usually couch things spiritually, mostly because each of our spiritualities is different.
Sure,
Even if our religion is the same, our spiritualities
absolutely.
are different. But that, feeding others. I know that in my personal spirituality, feeding the people is a really important ceremonial event. You
Love
know,
that.
yeah.
Yeah,
And so,
I
like, I
think that's
love
my
the
love
fact that you're
language.
feeding and you're teaching your kids where the food's from. You're teaching them how to take care of themselves without being dependent on something, on other things like that.
Yeah,
Um,
I hope
that's a
I hope
huge.
they soak up some of these life skills. It's, if nothing else, I hope it just keeps them out of trouble because it's a lot of work.
This is true. This is true. Well, gardening. I remember snapping peas. Actually, stealing peas out of the garden, and then snapping green beans with my grandparents with their
Isn't that
garden.
fascinating? So
You
one of
can't.
the hobbies that I think I want to take on eventually, I'm not sure when, is helping folks do guided life reviews. And it's to capture things just like you just said, like what's one fond memory you have of from childhood that revolves around X, Y, or Z, or that includes this person, or what did your childhood bedroom look like, and that kind of thing.
Oh, that's cool. That is an awesome. That by itself could be a show here on Wisdom.
I was thinking about that just prior to coming on here and how that might look, and that I might do it um, not weekly. I mean, you could do it every day, but have a
Yeah.
particular focus for that week for the guided life review, and then people could go back and visit those each time or anytime
Uh
they
huh.
wanted to, right?
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'm going to follow you because I want to show up and hang out in that audience for sure. Oh,
Yeah,
I accidentally unfollowed you because I had already followed you. Um, Amanda, thank you so much for stepping up to my pleas for somebody to be on the stage with me. I do usually I like to repurpose my show here into my podcast.
Yeah,
And if I have your permission, can I link your socials, and so that other people, can I link like your Twitter
I would.
so people can follow you uh and come to the life reviews when you start doing them?
I would enjoy that immensely. Thank you.
Oh, okay. I would love to do that. Well, I am so glad to have met another educator, recovering educator,
Yeah,
um, who is taking care of yourself and others. You're teaching the kids how to take care of themselves. Um, we've got to do more of taking care of ourselves so that we can survive the big things, like the big thing we've just been through.
absolutely.
Um, and I think that may have been one of I call them gifts from COVID. I think that's one of the gifts it gave us, is the realization of needing to take care of ourselves better.
I agree.
And I don't mean just by health. I mean taking care of our mental health
Absolutely.
and
I
our
think
social health.
sort of stripping away those layers of things that we use to mask and stay busy, and figuring out what it would take to shift from ambition to meaning a little quicker is one
Uh-huh.
of those things that I'm happy to think about. I'm not sure if everybody's thinking about it, but
Well,
oh
and
my
maybe take those of us who are thinking of it to help guide everybody else to get there.
true.
And I see wisdom as a cool platform in number one in that. That's personally been the way I've, stepped up and used the stage. Um, is I think just human connection. We know that, it, we're not connecting the same way we did before, but actually maybe we're going to connect better ultimately.
Yeah, I love that even if you have a loose agenda coming to this platform, the openness and the spontaneity from the interactions keeps you honest,
Mm-hmm.
where
Ooh,
platforms
yeah. It
don't
keeps you
necessarily
authentic.
have that.
It keeps you authentic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean that actually kind of goes for, um, I decided to hit the mic every day, Monday through Friday. I gave
Mhm.
myself a specific topic each day, but I've also kind of like waited until I literally hit the mic to find out what I'm going to say. And I'm not,
Yeah,
I, which is kind of hard because, I'm one of those who usually it's, okay, we need to plan the lecture and we need to plan what the homework is with it. And we need to plan the slides and we need to, that whole, you know, and so going off the cuff has not always been my thing.
yeah,
I'm better when I do. I do know that I come up with I come up with some creative stuff that I never even would think of. Um, and to be able to record it and have it, to go back and listen to again or to share with others again. I love the fact that we're able to do that over here too.
I do
Um,
too. I do too. You're right, though. We think about objectives first and then strategies to meet those objectives. And you can start with some loose objectives, but it's very adult education friendly in that we can be collaborators in the learning, and it's cooperative, and it's a beautiful thing. And if you do any research around adult education theory, I know there's some stuff here.
uh-huh.
I don't know what it is yet. I do think that I want to write about that eventually, but
Well, and
maybe
what I
someday.
love about being a recovering educator is that we can write about it and we can use our backgrounds in, solid scientific research methods,
Yes.
but we also don't have to be held to the rigorous, bureaucratic stuff. That we can
Yeah,
just use those, but then also be free to like be human. Does
absolutely.
that resonate?
No, it absolutely does. I mean, you don't
Yeah.
necessarily need an IRB to tell us that it's okay to speak with consenting adults, to
Right.
understand or to even synthesize themes based on your lens and your view and your
Oh,
experience.
now you're
Yes.
speaking my language. Qualitative is my jam.
Oh, mine too. Oh, can we be
All right.
besties? Oh
We've
my
definitely got,
gosh.
we definitely have to talk. I have a feeling we've got some shared, I would love, in fact, I'd totally love to chat with you. I'm going to ask everybody all the 62 people who are listening, please look up my app on the App Store. If you just look up Technology Therapist, um, I have an app on the App Store. It's on Google Play and on Apple. And my podcast is in there also, so you can get to the podcast. You can find out about the formula that I have for my coaching program. But more importantly, you can connect with me and send me messages or schedule with me to do a Zoom call and hang out. So I would totally love to get to know you more, Amanda, and see maybe there's some trouble we can get into, you know?
I can't wait. I can't wait. Nothing else. We'll take a cruise when you're ready and hang out.
Oh, booked. I was supposed to be leaving here in about 2 weeks to go on the marketers cruise, and I decided because of COVID to stay home this time. So I'm booked in 2023, January 2023 for the marketers cruise. But I'm
All
not
right.
opposed to booking and doing something before that as well. So,
Hallelujah.
right.
Very good.
So, thank you again for
You're
joining
welcome.
me. Thank everybody else. Uh, just by way of closing up the show, my name is Stacy Brayuka. I am a technology therapist and squirrel wrangler. I am a clinical social worker by profession, a public health educator by profession, and a neat girl by life love. And I bring all three of those things together in my Find Your Formula coaching program that helps business leaders and others balance their work life balance so that they can do more of what they love and be healthier doing it. So I have really appreciated having Amanda with me today, and I will find her information and um, put the link to that in my show notes. As a matter of fact, one last question to Amanda: if you can private message me somehow your email address, I will send you a link when the show goes live on the podcast, so that you'll have the link to that. So I appreciate almost 70 people now coming in here, and it's been Take Time Thursday. What is your favorite hobby? And tomorrow is Find Your Formula Friday. So I'm going to take one piece of the formula and we're going to dig deep in it. And I hope to see you there. So have a great, great rest of your Thursday, and remember to take time for yourself.